So a few months ago, I read an article on a website called ifls.com. Stands for I effing love science. And that article mainly focused on the side effects of long-term aspirin use later on in life. And that kind of resonated with me because anytime I have a headache or my back is hurting or I get an injury, I take aspirin. Now, I don't take it chronically every day, but it said if you're a long-term aspirin user, later on in life, 30 or 40 years down the road, you could develop cancer. And so that got me thinking that, is there an alternative to aspirin that maybe won't have these detrimental side effects later on? And then I did some more research, and I saw that a lot of Western medicines have side effects down the road that can lead to an earlier death than normal. For one instance, asthma inhaler, for example, that can raise your blood sugar, and that can push you to diabetes, even if you're skinny and you don't have a lot of body fat and you have a healthy lifestyle. So what I focused on was, what's the difference between Western medicines that all the doctors and hospitals prescribe to us nowadays, rather than medicines they used before the times of pills and hospitals in the olden days? How were cultures able to thrive for so long and do so well without using all these substances? So the first disease that I focused on was I did coronary artery disease. The way I chose this was when we were doing our heart unit in this class. We focused on atherosclerosis and the heart and blood pressure, and so that unit was really interesting to me. So I chose to look more into that. And coronary artery disease, as we studied, is like the buildup of plaque in the artery walls. And so because that plaque builds up, there's less space for oxygen-carrying blood vessels to reach the heart. And that means the heart can't work at its normal function that it would be working at. So what I wanted to see is, it may be something new that with the diets that we have now, with the greasy, fat diets, it could be that back in the olden days it wasn't like that. Or I wanted to see if that same problem was present and there was another way of treating it. So I looked at two things. First, I looked at the Western effects, the Western treatments for it. And it involved a change in lifestyle if it was nothing too severe. If you sat at a desk for 40 or 50 hours a week, it would require you to just get up and go for a walk 1 hour a day. That could be all you needed. Or in more severe cases, sometimes you may need a surgery, a bypass or a double bypass, or even a triple bypass if it got to the bad instances. And then I looked at the side effects of it, the side effects of surgery. And the side effects, they're not too pleasant because you could have a lot of pain after your surgery. Sometimes the surgery may not even work. There's always a risk when you go in for surgery that something goes wrong and you don't come out of that operating room alive. You would have trouble sleeping, chest pain, you can't do a lot, and so it's not pleasant. As opposed to the Eastern treatment, where they let the body heal itself by giving it herbs and foods that have regenerative properties. Foods like corn and herbs, they help stimulate the blood and they break down the plaque so that the arteries are stronger and there's less plaque buildup so that the blood flow can reach the heart. So another thing I also wanted to look at was which treatment is better, which course of treatment. And for heart disease, the one I would say is if it's not too severe, if it's not an immediate life-threatening ailment, I would go with the Eastern treatment, because you don't have to go surgery, you don't have to take medicines that could end up killing you a lot earlier on. And so it's a healthier alternative to healing your body. The next one I did was high blood pressure. This also falls under the unit of the cardiovascular system. And high blood pressure was when, if you're stressed out or you're in a stressful event, your blood is moving at a lot quicker rate than normal. And so when this is a chronic thing, if your blood always moves at a quicker rate than normal, the walls of your artery can be damaged and weakened. When that happens, an artery could burst and you could die. So what I looked at was how is it treated for both West and East. With the West, it's also a change in lifestyle. You got to eat healthier, exercise more, and maybe even take some medicines for it. But with the East, there were more herbs involved. There was French lavender, which is a relaxant. If you inhale the lavender scent, it relaxes your whole body. It brings that stress level lower. There's also ginger, which helps relaxes the muscles, so the artery muscles. If they're tightening up and they're constricting, then the blood flow is also going to be a lot harder. The blood will flow quicker in order to get through that constricting muscle. So if the muscle relaxes, the blood can flow more easily. Also, again, with the Eastern treatment, there's also a change in lifestyle. You want to quit smoking, you want to eat healthy, and you want to get exercise. So for this one, I'd say it's really up to the person who has the high blood pressure. It's kind of like a wild card. You could go with either option. If it were up to me personally, I'd go with the Eastern treatment. The third one I did was vision problems. It's a pretty self-explanatory term. Vision problems means you just can't see properly. In some cases, it's not that severe. You can deal with it. It's manageable. If it's a little more severe, then you would need prescription-strength glasses. But in the most severe instances, you would need some sort of laser or eye surgery. And that, as usual with any surgery, comes with risks. You could damage the retina, or damage the cornea, or even damage the brain if there's a misstep in the surgery. So there's always a risk with that. But with the Eastern treatment, they use more foods and herbs, like the chrysanthemum flower. That relaxes the liver, which clears up the eye. And then there's also I may be mispronouncing this, it's the suding ginseng root, and it cools down the liver, because if the liver heats up too much, your eyes become red. And so if your liver is cool, your eyes will be clear, and your vision will not blur up at all. For this particular ailment, it's really, I would go with the Western treatment, because I think it's one that's been tried and tested, and it's been proven to work. And in severe cases, glasses or contacts may not be such a bad thing. And the last one I did was asthma. Asthma is it's where you can't breathe properly. Your air vessels constrict and you're just having a hard time breathing. So what you can do is you can take an inhaler, and that relaxes the muscles, opens up the airways. But like I said before, with an inhaler, you may you may have higher blood sugar, and that can lead to diabetes later on in life. But with the Eastern treatment, if you just exercise or eat some roots, take some herbs, swim, run, it's much easier to get over it, and it can be cured. That's all for me, because I'm out of time. But does anybody have any questions?